Have you ever discovered that you are during public rush hour on a conveyance crammed with just sardines to be struck by the distinct scent of the individual before you perspires profusely? This circumstance may irritate some people, particularly when that individual turns out to be a chatty, antisocial fool arguing over a speakerphone with a friend, and when someone points it out to them, they just hurl a few curses and carry on. Given their actions, we have all been there. Coming into disagreeable individuals in the idiots from the outside world are abundant. They're traveling by bus, train, or streets, in eateries, while working in traffic. As well as in our personal lives, these challenging individuals from all across the world and all spheres of existence just don't possess social graces, or perhaps they do, but they don't even want to. So what can we do? Handle these folks nicely, as it turns out that the Stoics of old had some responses to handling challenging individuals. A recurring motif in Stoic writing is that they spoke negatively about dishonest siblings, parents pushing each other in public toilets, and people who discharged their courtesy and cleanliness in public restroom. So how can we address the loudness, very rude passengers with bad smells colleagues, or even hostile or we live with narcissistic people in our houses? This video explores strategies for coping with these and other challenging individuals, including those who have an offensive odor, the Stoic philosophical lens, and some pertinent first-hand accounts. Following Roman exile, Epictetus was expelled. Together with more philosophers he visited. Nicopolis is a northern Greek city. Where he lived out the remainder of his in Neapolis, he established an intellectual institution, and among his students was a youthful, perceptive man, christened Arian without Aaron. We probably wouldn't be talking about the renowned Epicurus. A modern philosopher published a huge library of talks and produced a wallet containing the most crucial teachings from one of these teachers. Teaches a fundamental aspect of Roman communal bathing areas used by civilization were common throughout the Roman Empire, and Roman bathing customs derived from the Greek ancestors dispersed throughout the swimming in the Mediterranean was mostly Roman social customs that were observed meeting places for friends and inviting them to political parties, and lived there to organize public support. Even the really wealthy who could private bathrooms were used by public baths because of its communal elements. Bathhouses gave residents a place to stay, to work out, socialize, unwind, and have joyful. But you've undoubtedly surmised as a diverse range of individuals attended such throughout congested public areas. There was scarcity of rude people, those who consciously splashing water arrived to pilfer or be believed they owned the bathhouse and acted appropriately. Indeed, by reading Stoic writings, it is evident that humans are. Nature is nonetheless harsh and unchanging. Since people are a timeless phenomenon, what solutions did Epictetus propose for handling arduous individuals during that period? Epictetus advised his pupils to keep in mind the natural. We can ascribe their actions to distinct qualities to every activity. For instance, in the bathroom there are what to anticipate when we travel there, even though they're folks we don't like splattering water and shoving other people who are using harsh words, yelling or frightening. To know these natural benefits of taking a bath, we do not be shocked when we come upon them. Thus what, in Epictetus's opinion, ought we to do? He recommends that the main emphasis should not just taking a shower, but also maintaining the having a clear, composed mind allows you to will carry out this task with greater security. If you convince yourself to take a bath right now and maintain my mental state in line with the natural order, and similarly for every other action, in case of a barrier emerges in the bathtub, you'll be prepared to express that my wish was not just to take a bath. Want to maintain a frame of mind in which, in line with the natural order, and I will not save it in case I'm troubled by what occurs similarly. We can speak with the public. What kind of transportation is it? This is using public transit, constantly serene and equipped with seating. People are always available to everyone, kind and considerate on the bus and trains without fail, always arrive on time. Any traveler will probably acknowledge that. Despite the fact that these favorable encounters arise, they don't accurately depict the NA nature of public transit as an alternative. There are numerous disagreeable features, including as chatty, odorous, and unsociable. Those attempting to avoid attending fairs, excessive room, and blaring their phones on a packed subway car via speakers. So how should a Stoic person use public spaces? Transit, according to Epictetus's teachings, the solution must be given first. Prior to starting, Stoics consider the characteristics of using public transportation. A second Stoic's emphasis is maintain a relaxed head while doing the task. Consequently, when riding the bus, anticipate the potential for delays when completing the train. Be prepared for confrontational people and disagreeable travelers. It was thought that Marcus Aurelius was one of. He was a follower of the good emperors as well, regarding the school of Stoic philosophy as an emperor. He had a lot of people to deal with every day, including a few quiet moments, challenging ones, some unpleasant folks, and requiring others was unfair, and it was unworthy of an emperor to be trusted. A significant undertaking, and the duty was a big load. Picture yourself as the most powerful individual living. Many people envy you and attempt to replace you, along with a large empire is determined by your decisions. Naturally, Marcus Aurelius looked for an outlet that, at least in part, removed the form of a journal where he recorded his reflections on fortitude were published in the purpose of existence in times of need, and the characteristics of humans, and surprisingly, how to handle challenging individuals. From his later writings, Stoic scholars developed a method known as loosely meditatio malorum, interpreted as a bad picture. Let's look at an interesting case from Marcus. Writings of Aurelius, in which he emphasized not allowing other people's unattractive bodily odors. He advised against becoming offended by the odor or foul breath of "What's the purpose of that mouth, people? With those pits, they'll make the smell, but their brains are incapable of. They manage to find it out, aren't they? The issue, because your intelligence is too great, want you to wake up using your reasoning. Theirs up, show them and let them know. If people pay attention, the issue is resolved. The core idea behind no anger. The roach is that, in the end, we are unable to regulate other people's conduct. Marcus Aurelius came to understand that even as an emperor, he was not completely in charge of his subjects. As most of us have familiarity with others in our immediate vicinity, they possess their own free will, minds, and bodies of action if there is anything that concerns us. We can only draw attention to it by disclosing the problem is evident. But is that assure you that they won't ignore them, most likely have no interest in what we assert, that certain individuals are repulsive, and really didn't give a damn until you can make them use the restroom and take a shower deodorant. They don't practice proper hygiene under your authority, just as the Stoics would claim it's not important to worry when individuals display undesirable actions on a regular basis. Place these actions under a magnifying glass is an example that practically everyone can connect to, is how we perceive our parents. Especially as we become older, we usually concentrate on the shortcomings of our parents. Yes, some parents do ignore their good parenting, made awful decisions that some people reject criticism, and some of these are bothersome. Factors separate us from the individuals. We cannot ignore them since they continue in the background each time we speak. With these qualities are the ones that making these individuals challenging. and sadly, there's not much we can take action against them, as only they choose to alter. Epictetus urged us not to abandon these folks, but that the handbook of Epictetus, or Enidan, has a tolerance-based lesson demonstrating that everything has more, even humans, sides compared to their negative traits Epictetus used when speaking student having trouble with their sibling improperly treated him, either in front of him or with others. Thus he offered him the subsequent suggestion that everything has two handles, one that allows you to transport it and another that you are unable to use if your brother is unfair, and you attempt to comprehend the circumstance by exercising control. The handle you are using to his injustice that won't function. Assess the circumstance by he is your brother, according to the other handle, and you two grew up together as well. You're capable of handling that in many instances from own experience. That alter of perspective might be quite beneficial at times. Sometimes, particularly when I'm by myself and my ideas that come to mind, enlarging the negative aspects of persons changing into villains that will cause chaos in the area. The handle, as Epictetus referred to it, grows more important than the individual. Because of this, what is helpful is by concentrating on the opposing side of an individual is far more than being a drama queen, a liar, or an idiot. There might be complementary features that still maintain a relationship with another handles to carry it, but occasionally, because things are so dire, we are unable to, even if we want to carry it by the handles we acceptable. Some individuals are too poisonous to continue to exist, if that is the case. Observing we've already had a film showcasing these poisonous individuals are worth checking out. If there's any interest, video. Picture living with a person who ignited a fire that releases smoke, provided that the fire is under control and the smoke is acceptable. Therefore you don't see why depart. But how will you respond when the smoke is too much? Will you stay inside or go now? Allow me to share. Personally, I've been having trouble with whom I haven't spoken in a while, my dad, in more than 5 years. We were really close. But I made a cut in the spring of 2018. Disconnected but not without purpose. It was an acquisition of knowledge, including some of things, when I think back on them, are absurd. Father demonstrates the requirements for listed is narcissistic personality disorder within the DSM-5, even if he has never officially identified as a result of his lack of feel, that in contrast to the environment around him, naturally, despite the title that is rightfully his entire disrespect for one's own bounds, manipulation, pathological, deception, obsessional, self-aggrandizement with paths of self-destruction and retaliation are not to mention the obliteration of additional, the lives of individuals were too much for me, capacity to endure. I had to get away, had to abandon the notion that my dad is even now my father, therefore I still miss him in my life. Believability increasing as the events were piling up, and I wasn't alone. Victim for many years, I thought, the words of Epictetus. So, do you have a right by nature to a good dad, not just to a dad? And even though this is accurate, I have to admit that there are boundaries to one's endure until you reach a breaking point. Epictetus's vast assortment of recorded talks referred to as discourses provides a simile referring to smoke in a home, which proceeds in a manner similar to what this accomplished. If someone smokes within the home, moderate smoker. I'll continue. If it's how far I'll deviate from the comparison is typically described as a disagreement endorsing suicide by saying that when life gets intolerable and there's no difficulty departing. But when we look in the sections that come before the simile, it appears that Epictetus is speaking of tough individuals when they narrate a tale concerning a person who is unwilling to eat at a different person's residence, since they cannot put up with such ostentation, so Epictetus. In conclusion, Just avoid acting in a weighed down, scared, or believing that you are miserable for no one's benefit. Makes you do it here. He appeared to highlight our capacity for decision-making when handling challenging or conceited. Is it possible for people to leave? If so, we are able to enter through that door and never turn around when someone wrongs us. May imagine taking vengeance and seeing an eye. It sounds reasonable if someone has hurt us or unfairly treated us. Do we not have a reason to offer them a taste of their own pharmaceutical? My father's connections evoked such emotions in me for years. I considered taking retribution or settling scores, and I would never utilize the similar strategies to him. My notion of retaliation was my son's success, but I was never good enough of me being eternally at fault inadequate. So I thought that was my best. Getting even would mean putting him on display, telling him that I was more successful than, despite the fact that this type of punishment was beneficial and didn't main intention was to hurt someone. It was, even so, revenge was still motivated by rage, so I gave up a portion of my contentment to avenge him, which in looking back was a little ridiculous. Not only did I continue to feel discomfort, but I also squandered my time chasing something that was outside of my control, causing my father's response to my wanted. His response was a combination of appreciation, acknowledgement, regret, acceptance, and perhaps even just a small apology. But I understand that he most likely won't such things to me, regardless of how much I attain. Epictetus offered an alternative views on the pointlessness of retaliation. He basically viewed retribution as superfluous and detrimental to oneself. If we seek retribution due to an injury, an injustice that has been done to us, let's first take Epictetus's recommendation to consider the definition of an injury. What harm results from someone betraying you? When someone slashes you, it hurts you. Are you injured by traditional methods, norms that you would most likely take into account incidents like wounds? But Epictetus claimed that genuine harm included a lack of morality in what the individual did. Thus, if someone deceives you or pilfers from you, the individual injured himself by compromising your virtue, which is real and only positive in the eyes of the Stoics. Epictetus stated that if goodness is in moral intent and evil as well as moral intentionally, check to determine if what you're saying not arrive at something of this caliber, and therefore, ever since so-and-so injured himself, causing me harm, should I not be hurt? My act of wrongly retaliating against him is sweet, as they say, and although that might be indeed, occasionally the sweetness demonstrates fleeting. If virtue is the only goodness is debatable, though. I think Epictetus was correct when he said that via harming the one who harmed me, I would harm myself in a distinct manner, of saying, never become like them. It's not worthwhile in addition to the expected outcome, might not even happen as in the end, we hope to cause suffering, based on how people respond to what we do. We have no control over it, therefore that's how the Stoics handle challenging individuals, include those who smell bad. Now that we've reached the end, how about you? How do you deal with challenging individuals who, which Stoic suggestion is your favorite? Tell us in the comments, please. Thank you. If you're not already viewing, hit the subscribe button on our channel. Click the subscribe button to help us out. Till the subsequent video.